Welcome back to the Broad Street Sports Podcast featuring Zachary Chaby, and today I'll be giving you my 2024-2025 playoff predictions, just going through every game, who I have winning from the wild card all the way to who I have winning the Super Bowl. I'm just going to give an overview of how each team's season ended and who I have winning. And before I get started, Happy New Year to everyone. Hope everyone had a good Christmas, good New Year, and other than that, just ready to start 2025 fresh, maybe get some new ideas up in there. But other than that, I'm going to get right into it. First game we got is Texans and Chargers. That game will be played on Saturday at 4:30 in Houston. Houston's in the same situation they were last year. Difference is I don't have as much confidence as I did as them last year, in my opinion, because if you think about it, they really were like a better team they were last year, and they kind of still have the same players, but at the same time, I mean, I think they upgraded the positions. They upgraded a running back. They got a great edge rusher in Danielle Hunter. But just this tail end of the season has been really rough for them. They finally got their first win in a while against the Titans, which that division sucks. So, I mean, you can't put much thought into it, really, in my opinion. So it's very interesting. But, I mean, at the same time, the Texans, they're struggling going in the playoffs. Lost Tank Dell again, just so unfortunate. And they lost their big acquisition in Stephon Diggs to a torn ACL. So it's going to be tough. And C.J. Stroud has really been in a sophomore slump this year. So, and for the Chargers, I mean, they've been great going into the playoffs, had a nice win to end the season against the Raiders, and Jim Harbaugh has been the perfect head coach for Justin Herbert. And I think Herbert, he finally looks like he's playing well. Once they get him some good receivers, they got Ladd McConkey, who's great. If Quentin Johnson can develop anything, that'd be great for them. But overall, just looking at it, I mean, I think the Chargers will win this game. I think their defense, which has been one of the best this year, very underrated in my opinion. I think they're going to win this game pretty easily in my opinion. So I think the Chargers will win, maybe by the score of 23-16. But overall, I think the Texans' liability on offense and just not being able to get out to fast starts anymore, it's going to come back to bite them. And the Chargers will be able to sustain a nice run game with possibly the comeback player of the year in J.K. Dobbins. But the Chargers will win, I think. Moving on to the next game. This game will be played at 8 o'clock on Prime Video, the first playoff game on Prime Video. We got an AFC North matchup. We saw this matchup a couple weeks ago, and the Ravens obliterated the Steelers. It was up and down at the beginning, but then the Ravens just opened it up in the second half and were able to dominate. I think it's going to be more of the same in my opinion. I'm just going to pick the Ravens right here. I think it's pretty easy why I have them winning. I think the Ravens, they're a good team. They struggled to start the season, not being able to win that much. But overall, I think that the Ravens, their defense is going to be too much for Pittsburgh, which another fall off for Pittsburgh this year. They actually had a great chance of getting the AFC North and being able to host a playoff game. But just this 4-game losing streak into the playoffs, I think it's going to carry on. It's going to be the reason they lose pretty convincingly to the Ravens. So maybe by the score of 31-14. Moving on to the next game, we got the Bills and Broncos. The Bills, they've been very good this year. Josh Allen's been playing like Superman the entire season, so I think he's going to be able to make the plays he needs to make. Bo Nix, it's going to be tough. I know the environment won't change because it's cold in Denver, it's cold in Buffalo, so I think he'll be fine on that part. But a rookie quarterback going into a hostile environment like Buffalo, I think he'll try to manage it first, but it's going to be hard for him to sustain success, and I think the Bills will win this game, in my opinion. So I got the Bills and the Ravens, and I got the Chargers and the Chiefs. I'll continue the divisional round after I'm done with the NFC wildcard. Moving on to the NFC wildcard, first game is another 4-5 matchup. We got the Rams and Vikings. And this game, I think it's very interesting. Minnesota showed last week what team they could really be when they're facing a juggernaut like Detroit. And for Detroit, it showed why they deserve to be the number 1 seed, in my opinion. But overall, Minnesota, this is the first playoff game Sam Darnold's ever starting his career, and it's in LA, where they did lose earlier in the season. And the Rams, they are better now than they were then. And you cannot count out Sean McVay. They have Puka Nacua. They have Cooper Kupp. They have Kyren Williams. And you know Stafford can ball. So you can't cut them out. And that's honestly why I think I'm going to pick the Rams. I know the Vikings can be a really, really good team. But, I mean, at the end of the day, the Rams have more playoff experience. They know how to get to the moment. That team has done it. And for the Vikings, I just think Sam Darnold, I feel like that last game is might carry on to this game, and he looked like he couldn't handle the moment, and the moment gets even bigger, especially when you get in the playoffs, and I think that's going to be the cause of their loss. And an unfortunate season for Minnesota, but I mean, until you can get like sustained success, I know your defense is good, but if they do lose, it would be interesting to see if they bring back Darnold. But moving on to the next game, we got the 3-6 matchup in the NFC. We got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and we got the biggest surprise of the season, in my opinion, the Washington Commanders. Jaden Daniels has been a godsend not only to that team, but to that city and franchise. He's had his struggles, don't get me wrong, but he's mostly the reason they're in the playoffs right now. He's been electrifying. Will probably be the Rookie of the Year this year, and it's going to be an interesting game because these two teams like to play very much the same. Their defenses are mid-tier. Their offenses can fire on all cylinders with the weapons they have. And, I mean, I think it's either going to be a very low-scoring to middle-tier game or very high-scoring. I mean, you don't know what you're going to get out of the game. Like, sometimes you know what result you're going to get. I have no idea how this game's going to go about the score or anything. It could be very close. It could be a blowout. I wouldn't be surprised with any result. But this may shock a lot of people, but I am going to pick Washington. I know it's in Tampa Bay. I know Tampa Bay has more playoff experience. But I think Jaden Daniels, he's the one quarterback I've seen this year with all the rookies. He's ready for the moment, and I think this is his moment to shine. I think he'll be able to do that, and I think he will be ready to shine no matter what pressure is put on him. I think Baker will have a good game, but I think Daniels rushing is going to be too much for them at the end of the day, and why the Commanders will win maybe by 5-6 points in my opinion. So moving on to the final game, we got the Eagles and the Packers. I'm so excited for this game. I think the Eagles can really make a Super Bowl run this year. I think it's very important that they do because this team can do it. This is the best defense I've seen in years. You have a 2,000-yard rusher who's been a godsend to this team. He's been absolutely spectacular. Saquon Barkley is just amazing, and I hope we can deliver that without, like, I know I didn't get a chance to talk about this. Me personally, I didn't care that much about the record. I did not want him to play because I know how much of an impact he makes to this team. So I didn't want him to play and get hurt. I don't want the offensive lineman to get hurt. That's how my view was on it. But the Eagles, they finished with one loss in the last 11, 12 games. It was absolutely spectacular. They played great after the bye week. We're on a 10-game winning streak and then just lost one game and then won the final 2 games of the season. And Nick Sirianni has 2 14-win seasons, the only head coach in Eagles history to do that. Very interesting. I mean, I still feel iffy about the guy, but it just shows that this team has become proven winners. Jalen Hurts practiced today. It's a great sign. I feel like they need him if they want any chance of going to the Super Bowl. Even when people say we don't need him, we need him, in my opinion. I think just because Jalen doesn't pass and he doesn't make the plays that he did in 22, he still makes an impact on the field. Him and Saquon Barkley, the read option, it scares defenses to death. I mean, either handing it off to Barkley or faking it and letting Hurts run, either way, it's not going to turn out well for most teams. And I honestly think if Jalen plays, he's ready to go. There's no rust. The Eagles should easily win this game, in my opinion. I know Green Bay, they're in the same situation they were last year. But I mean, I don't think we're Dallas. I don't think we're anywhere close to that. Dallas, they're just known for being chokers. So I think we will be in this. We will be able to win this game. And the biggest difference of them all, Packers were hot going into the playoffs last year. Won 4 out of their last 5. They've been really struggling into the playoffs. Jordan Love is banged up. Christian Watson's out for the year. Jair Alexander's out for the year. And I think them just with the mismatches they're going to put on A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, Goddard being back, and then you know what Saquon's going to give you. So I think ultimately the Eagles will win this game. So moving on to the divisional round. First, we got a 2-3 matchup between the Bills and Ravens. This matchup is very good in my opinion. I know the Ravens dominated earlier in the season, but I think the Bills are more ready for this moment now. And it's the 2 MVP candidates. I think whoever wins this game, I know voting is already done at this point, but I think honestly who wins this game, it most likely will be MVP. But honestly, looking at this game, it's in Buffalo. Baltimore, they've been good as of late, but I think they're going to have no one to stop Josh Allen. Their best bet is Kyle Hamilton, but Josh Allen's just a superhuman sometimes, and I think he'll be able to make enough plays. Baltimore will keep it close, but Josh Allen and the Bills offense will eventually be able to pull away, and I think they'll win this game. So I have the Bills in the AFC Championship. Looking at the Chargers and Chiefs, the Chargers, I think they can really give the Chiefs a run for their money, in my opinion. But at the end of the day, the Chiefs are the Chiefs. Even though they don't play good, they haven't played good in a while, they're going to find a way to win. And they turn that level up even more when the playoffs come. And I think it's going to be more of the same. I think the Chiefs, they win it, not convincingly, but win enough in a way where they're still dangerous no matter what team is out there. So I have the Chiefs-Bills Conference Championship. I'll get back to who I have going to the Super Bowl after I do the divisional round in the NFC. Looking at the divisional round, the Commanders and Lions, this matchup is very intriguing to me. I know we didn't get to see it this year, but I think it'd be very interesting. But I think this is where the magic runs out for the Commanders. Going to Detroit, the weapons they have is second to none. Amon-Ra St. Brown, the way Jameson Williams has developed, Jahmyr Gibbs, and then possibly getting back David Montgomery is huge for Jared Goff and the rest of this offense. Their offensive line has been one of the best. Sam Laporta, even though he's had not his greatest season as he did in his rookie year, you know what you're going to get out of him. And Aaron Glenn can coach up this defense to get enough stops and scheme against Jaden Daniels. I mean, he was able to scheme against Sam Darnold. He put man coverage on Justin Jefferson, and they still succeeded. So I think this guy knows what he's doing. And Ben Johnson, one of the biggest masterminds in the league today, probably the best offensive coordinator, and why he'll easily get a head coaching job this offseason. So I think the pressure's going to run out. The pressure's going to be too much for Daniels in this situation, and I think that the Lions will win by, 2 scores. Moving on to the Eagles and Rams, we saw this matchup earlier in the year. It was the Saquon Barkley game. He ran for the most rushing yards in Eagles history, 255, had 302 scrimmage yards. But I think it's, I don't want to say it's more the same, but I think the Eagles will still win at the end. I think the Rams, they're going to have enough firepower, but our defense has been one of the best in the league. It's going to continue to go that way, I think, throughout the playoffs. But honestly, I think the Eagles will win this game pretty convincingly, maybe by 10, 13 points. I think the run game is going to be too much for the Rams mid-tier defense, and then if Jalen can pass the ball successfully, we should be just fine. Moving on to the conference championship, I know I have it a little boring, 1-2, 1-2, but at the same time, though, I think these teams are the best in their conferences, respectively. So starting off first with the conference championship in the AFC, I had the Chiefs even before this video in the conference championship. I just think they're eventually going to get there, but I do not have them going to the Super Bowl. And this is why. We saw it earlier in the year. I know this game is in Kansas City, but still, they had no answer for Josh Allen last time they played, and that's why they got handed their first loss of the season. I think if Josh Allen, this is his moment. This is his time to finally prove that he's one of the best quarterbacks. And we already know he's one of the best quarterbacks, but to prove that he can win in the playoffs, if he can go to Arrowhead and beat Patrick Mahomes, only 2 quarterbacks have ever done that in his entire time playing, Tom Brady and Joe Burrow, if he can join that list and finally take the Bills back to the Super Bowl, I think you legitimately have to make a case for him being a winner. I think this is the year to do it for him. He's had to put the Bills on his back this year, and he's been superhuman. That's why he's up for his first ever MVP. But overall, in this grand scheme of things, I think the Chiefs offense, it's looking better as of late, but I think the Bills defense will be able to make enough stops where Josh Allen can then control the clock, make his plays, and the Bills can win this convincingly, probably by 10, 13, or not convincingly, but keep it close, but pull away at the very end, and win by 10 points. Moving on to the NFC Championship game, the Eagles and the Lions. It's a tough one. I've been waiting for this matchup the entire year, but, it's so tough. Both these teams are really well played. Detroit is such a tough place to play, but I think the Eagles are the only team that can beat Detroit in the NFC. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I don't really think anyone else stands a chance or can be anywhere close to beating them. But still, as an Eagles fan, I want them to go to the Super Bowl, but I realistically think if Detroit is firing all cylinders and they're going to have hopefully they'll have Montgomery back. He's such pivotal to that offense, and I want to face Detroit at full strength. I know we won't be facing them at full strength, but at least close to it would still be a very exciting game. But I think this is Detroit's chance to do it. I think Detroit's going to do it, and I got Detroit and the Bills. So, between these two teams, Who I have winning the Super Bowl, it's very tough for me. I think both teams play really well. It would be a great matchup. It was a great matchup a couple weeks ago. But in my honest opinion, who I have winning the Super Bowl is the Buffalo Bills. I think the Bills will capture their first Super Bowl. I think Josh Allen will carry them to that point, and I think he will be the reason that he will be a Bills legend, and I think he'll be able to do it. Looking at the playoff field, Josh Allen, I think, can do it, and he will do it, and I have the Bills beating the Detroit Lions in the Super Bowl in my predictions. Other than that, that's going to wrap up today's episode. I'll try to get some recaps. Maybe I'll record Thursday or Friday, just recap everything I missed in the other sports. But other than that, that's going to wrap up today's episode. Thank you guys so much for watching. Other than that, have a good day. Talk to you guys later.